Good stewards know connected with Jesus, heaven is ours. Separated from Jesus, there's hell to pay. If I were to show you a picture of Uncle Sam and ask you, what country does it symbolize? Every one of you would get the answer. Every one of you would say, the United States of America. If I showed you a picture of a hammer and sickle, I think virtually every one of you would say, that represents Russia. If I showed you a swastika, you would say, that's Nazi Germany. But suppose I showed you a picture of a grapevine. I suspect many of you would have no idea what country the grapevine represents. What does it symbolize? And it's the oldest of the symbols. It's been around for millennia. The grapevine represents Israel. Great wine growers, the ancient Jews, and they recognize there's life in those vines. Not only the grapes themselves, but the wine that the grapes produced. So it's not surprising that in our gospel passage today, the metaphor that Jesus uses is a grapevine. He says, look, I'm the vine. You're the branches. I'm stuck in the ground. I bring up all the nutrients from the ground. All the life-giving stuff flows through me, the vine. You're the branches, and you're important because you produce those big clusters of grapes. But if the vine grower comes along with pruning shears and he cuts off the vine, the branches, the vine itself is still rooted in the ground. It's still as healthy as ever. But the branch dies. It's got to be connected to the vine to do its job. It's got to be connected to the vine to live. And that's what Jesus is telling us. You've got to be connected with me. I give you life. Not only literally, God gives us life. What a fabulous gift life is. We take it far too granted. God didn't have to choose each of us, but He has. He's chosen each of us here from all eternity for life and an opportunity for perfect happiness forever in heaven. He's literally our lives, but He's also figuratively, spiritually our lives. We got to stay connected with Him. It's one of the important things to remember in life, is to go through life thinking, is what I'm doing right now connecting me with God? Because if it isn't, we shouldn't do it. Because in our gospel passage, Jesus says God the Father is the big pruner. He's going to come along, snip us off, and throw us into a fire. Here's a modern parable. John and Lance, well, they were best friends, really connected. Grade school, high school. John had it all together. Lance, not so much. But Lance was bright enough that he stayed connected with John because he knew that John nurtured him. Now, he wouldn't have used that verb, but he knew that John was good for him. But after high school, they went to different colleges. John went to LSU. Lance went to ULL. John thrived from the first day. Lance, not so much. Drugs, booze, didn't go to class, flunked every course in the first semester. The dean of students said, you can stay one more semester, but Lance said, no, this obviously isn't for me. So he called home and asked his dad whether he could come home, expecting Dad to say yes. But Dad said, look, son, I scrimped and saved for years to send you to college. You blew it. Learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. Lance then called John. John said, yeah, I've got an apartment outside the campus, small, but yeah, you can come crash here for as long as you'd like. When Lance got connected with John again in all of John's good habits, he began to thrive again. And semester after the next, he enrolled at LSU, and 5 years later, he graduated. And when he got married, he asked John to be his best man. And at the rehearsal dinner, John brought Lance aside and said, Lance, you know, we've been best friends since little bitty kids. And you depend on me. I know it. You know it. And that's fine. I'm glad to do that for you. But let me tell you, I don't stand on my own 2 feet. I do what I do only because I'm connected with God. Only because I have this habit of going through life on a regular basis saying, why am I doing this? Is it connecting me with God? And if it doesn't, I don't do it. Lance, you need to have that habit. Lance grabbed that habit. The symbolism is obvious. Lance depends on John. John depends on God. All of us depend on being connected with God. We've got to think. Just don't go through life on automatic pilot. Think. Particularly when you know, this is something questionable. Does this connect me with God? If it doesn't, don't do it. And it doesn't have to be something big. Just saying a nice word, a little compliment about your spouse. That's connecting you with God. It's doing a loving thing. In my office, over in the pastoral center, got lots of bookshelves. The ones behind my desk are 6 high. There are 6 shelves high. And on the one closest to my desk, on the top shelf, I have deliberately placed an Emmy. A Life Achievement Emmy that I was given for my work as a manager in television. I'm proud of it. I worked hard. I worked well. I did good things to get that Emmy. On that top shelf next to the Emmy is a Peabody, the broadcast equivalent of a Pulitzer Prize. In front of both of them is an iron cross, a simple iron cross, and I have a little pin light shining on the cross. And again, the symbolism is obvious. I'm proud of the things that I did in my former life. But I know I can show up at the pearly gates with my Emmy in this hand and my Peabody in this hand, and they're not going to move Jesus one little bit. But if I show up the pearly gates doing what that iron cross symbolizes, connecting in this life with Jesus, by doing little things with big love, He's going to grab me, hug me, and walk me through the pearly gates. My sisters and brothers, we are all called to be good stewards. And good stewards know, connected with Jesus, heaven is ours. Separated from Jesus, there's hell to pay.